getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Greetings, race fans, and welcome back for this week's coverage of Sim Racers Group Formula 3 on SMB. JR Gregory here with you on the call alongside Tom O'Gorman and tonight's producer, Mike Braun, who will be handling everything in the production facility. And week 3 of 2026 season 2 brings us to the Netherlands and Zandvoort, nestled into the dunes on the shore of the North Sea. The first street race was held back in 1939 at this site. The permanent racetrack was not constructed until after the war, using communications roads built by the occupying German army. The first Grand Prix held here back in 1948, and as most of you know, this track recently updated for the return of F1 in real life, and we got a new scan out of that for iRacing. Our current configuration, 2.6 miles, 4.2 corners, or 4.2 kilometers and 14 quarters. Our current track record is Sir Lewis Hamilton threw down a 1:11.097 back in 2021 in a Mercedes-Benz W12. And Tom, that it's a little hard to be in the Netherlands talking about Zandvoort without mentioning that unbelievable shock Max Verstappen retirement announcement just, about 15 minutes ago right now. And we will get back to that when we have time. But it has been confirmed by Red Bull, and I know we're going to be talking about that off and on throughout the broadcast. But back to the business at hand. I absolutely love this track. It reminds me of learning about high-performance driving on the back roads of North Central Florida in my misbegotten youth. It kind of has that feel of public, twisty roads that I really enjoy and that these F3 cars should absolutely thrive on. So what are your keys to tonight's race here at Zandvoort?
Yeah, what a cool racetrack, and I agree. I mean, Verstappen retiring to start team management is just really a pretty incredible news. But as we look to this racetrack here at Zandvoort, most of the racetrack drives very narrow. I think the first couple corners, especially that run down towards from turns 3 to 5 and 6, but especially the last couple corners, they really do drive very narrow as the cars change sides of the racetrack a couple of times naturally. But there are also some very wide sections of racetrack, specifically at turns 9 and 10, those couple of switchbacks that drive realistically as a couple of hairpins. But as you sort of go side by side, the ideal racetrack and the ideal racing line, becomes very difficult. There's just so many things going on here, especially with the big banking that they've added in the last couple of years. Back in 2020, Zandvoort is just such a cool place.
Yeah, it is wild. And Mike, you mentioned a little track guide, so maybe you can show us that Stephen Case pole lap, if you can pull that up real quickly, of a 126.1, and we can get Tom maybe to walk us through that lap, or we can just also ride along with Lynn Lotto right here. So take it away, Tom.
Here we go through the big banking at turn number 3. It's so difficult there. You know, the line is so specific. If you're a tire width too low, a tire width too high, it can become very difficult and you lose a tenth or two. But then this flat out run into turn number 7, a huge banking downhill off camber, and then on camber, a big tank slapper as we jump on board with this driver here, Lynn Lotto, going around in the last couple of laps of qualifying. And I think this is a big indicator of the kinds of challenges that this racetrack will bring these drivers. Of course, as I mentioned, driving narrow in some sections, driving wide in other sections, but either way, it's just a quick grass drop that takes it to a backwards adventure for these Formula 3 cars.
Yeah, too right. And this right here is one of my key corners, and kind of a thorn in my side personally. This turn 10, it's a little bit of a mini carousel. Doesn't have fantastic camber right there, and these drivers are going to have to be very, very patient to put the power down. It's going to be critical to get a good exit there, but putting the power down too early is going to loop these F3 cars, putting down about 250 horse, and we are going to see some F3 cars facing the wrong direction out of Bocht 10. But in any event, here is your starting grid for the first of 2 races here tonight on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Row 1 will give you Stephen Case next to Max Lynn Lotto, who we just saw with that big tank slapper in the middle section of the course. Then Kalen Mikovits has put some qualifying together for the first time this season. He'll line up in P3 next to De Silva. Then Jason Green will line up next to Chris Eggert. Green, our points leader heading into this one. Enrique Velo will line up next to Alex Velasco in row 4. Then it's Bali next to the captain, Jason Cotcher, in 9 and 10. Then it's Josh Corwin lined up next to Danush Poborji in row 6. Rafael Cardenas next to Adam Duvall. Kenan Miller will line up next to Michelle Lynn in 15 and 16. Then it's Thomas Brashear next to Diego Posada. Jason Trantham next to Jose Navas in row 10. Colquhoun Dillon will line up next to Ken Glasser, and Jacob Guyton will bring up the rear there in P23. And one thing that we didn't touch on, Tom, in kind of doing our prep talk for this course, very, very tough stuff on turn 1. We're going to see some contested entries. The pit straight is very long. These cars are going to come out of that turn 14 very, very fast, have a lot of drafting opportunities, and we're going to have some contested entries into turn 1 that are going to test these drivers' judgments when they see those open doors. Are they going to want to stick it down the inside of there? And one of many places here at Zandvoort that is going to give us some fantastic action. But looking down at the grid, that is Stephen Case in the 243 car, front of the line to the right hand. side of your screen, the blue 243. So he's going to have the outside line into turn 1, and there is the green flag. Case gets off very well. A big wreck in the back. That's Posada and Michelle Lynn at least. Could have been someone else involved in that as well. And look at Mikovits trying to sneak around the outside of Lynn Lotto into turn 1. He's going to have the advantage into this left-hander, this banked, heavily banked turn 3. And man, oh man, I love watching these cars hit that banking and shoot around that corner. There's a million lines right there, Tom, and and we're going to see probably the majority of them here today. And here we go, some side-by-side action through 4, 5, and 6 into turn 7. Mikovits hanging on, but Lynn Lotto pressing hard.
This is such intense stuff for second position. It's letting Stephen Case drive away just a little bit. Mikovits brilliantly holding the outside line, and now a bit of a lunge for De Silva up the inside of Lynn Lotto. This is the section of racetrack we talked about. It's so many options for racing lines, so wide with these Formula 3 cars and a couple other cars in the background of the previous sector having some serious issues. I think that might have been Varun Bali, but either way, into what I like to call this section the kitty litter, into the litter box. This section of racetrack, so much gravel on either side of the racetrack, but it's still Case, Mikovits, Lynn Lotto, then De Silva and Eggert, a bit of a 5-car breakaway.
Yeah, and we will see what happened there at the beginning. Try to dig up a replay for you, but look at that timing tower. You see all those meatball flags, more meatballs than the Italian Grand Prix taking place right now. Velasco, Michelle Lynn, Brashear, Navas, Posada, Bali, all having to get repairs. And holy cow, this is the first of 2 races, so it's not over for them. But none of them wanted this one to start that way. And Mike is going to try to show us a replay right here. Is somebody getting off the line slowly there? That is Michelle Lynn, I believe, gets a little loose trying to get that F3 car going. That may be, who is that? Posada coming in behind her. And it goes from bad to worse following the contact between those 2 cars. And bam, you see Lynn with a little bit of a wiggle. No traction control on these cars, and no warm-up lap to speak of. So cold tires, kind of tough to get them moving sometimes. Here's Posada's view. He sees the door open, and bang, that purple car of Lynn snaps, and Posada riding that roll hoop down the pit straight and taking a tow.
Meanwhile, it's a big breakaway for Stephen Case, but Kayla Mikovits and Max Lynn Lotto finding his hands full with Tyrone De Silva, Chris Eggert, and Jason Green, are a bit of your top 6 breakaway. By the way, Jason Green leading this championship after the first 2 rounds. He leads by just about 14 points between himself and Stephen Case after last weekend at Suzuka. Big defense down the front straightaway, especially from Eggert, who goes up the inside now, down into turn 1. That big banking there allows the outside to work very, very well, and Eggert's going to find himself ahead for turns 2 and 3.
Yeah, pretty move there by Eggert, and you're absolutely right. If somebody plays an aggressive defense coming off that pit straight into turn 1, the outside line, definitely doable there. And you saw Eggert getting a good drive, taking the long way around to capture that P4. And yeah, up front is still Case from Mikovits from Lynn Lotto. Case driving away at this point, as Case tends to do at times. And just a quick shout out to Jason Green, 2 races in. Green, the only driver to appear on both of the previous 2 race podiums at Sebring and at Suzuka. And I know that his fans have kind of been waiting for him to put something together in this league. He's got a pretty high I rating, sitting about 4.2 right now. So that's the highest number that I can see in this field. So Green finally getting a season going. And as you mentioned at the top of the point, so Green wanting maybe to sit on that P6, which of course would give him pole position in the future with our inverted grid. But about a third of the way through this one's Case from Mikovits, from Lotto, from Eggert, from De Silva, and yes, Jason Green sitting in the sweet P6.
So much defense down the front straightaway. And of course, JR, we spent a little bit of the intro to this show goofing around about April Fool's Day. But yes, with this first of the 2 races tonight, the sprint race 15 minutes, the feature race 25 minutes with a top 6 invert. This is just the start of the action as the battle for this is third on the racetrack. Max Lynn Lotto feeling some pressure from Chris Eggert. We ride through turns 4, 5, and 6 into the sweeper of turn 7. A big dirt drop for Lynn Lotto, but he makes it work. Look at the rotation from the Formula 3 race car on the fixed setup. Maybe a bit of strategy there, actually trying to get some rotation from both the landscape and the setup of these race cars. This is that wide part of racetrack that we talked about between turns 9 and turn 10. There's so many options for lines through there, but typically only one is fastest. And especially once you get side by side, there's just no option for driving on the fastest line. So you have to salvage the rest of it as we get into the banked turn number 12. Ooh, another big snap for Lynn Lotto. He's up on the wheel, but really driving the back end of that race car very ragged as we approach and just past 1/3 of this race.
Yeah, Lynn Lotto flogging that F3 car may be sustainable here in this short 15-minute heat, but that kind of driving definitely not sustainable in the future. And Lynn Lotto, we've seen him with a lot of pace, and we've also seen him cross that line from the ragged edge into the kitty litter. And not to give Lynn Lotto the commentator's curse right there. He's definitely fast, but definitely takes some chances, and we see that catch up with him. And we see a couple of cars there taking that wide line around that beautiful new bank section that they put in gosh, that is complete. Lost my place. Turn 3 there. And he's somebody there cutting right there. And I was going to talk about that. That is inbounds right there. So you can take a big bite of that curb in turn 4 as you enter into those S's. As a GT3 driver, that is my line on every lap. But on these open wheelers, it might be a little bit too bouncy to hit that lap after lap without facing some kind of consequences, Tom.
Yeah, that was Jason Green, your championship leader, just trying to shorten up the distance down what is effectively the straightaway from turns 3 to turn 7. We count that as turns 4, 5, and 6. But that black car with the neon green highlights continues to run in the 6th position as the field has spread out a little bit more than we expected, maybe, JR, with this track, with this racetrack tonight. It's not necessarily a high downforce driven racetrack, so I don't think the aero wash is a huge factor, but it's maybe sort of producing a bit more separated racing than we would have expected tonight. Drivers still feeling protective and defensive down the front straightaway, but so far just a little bit of churn in the top 10. The hard charger is Jason Trantham all the way down in 12th.
Yeah, Trantham picked up 7, part of that due to the misfortunes of others on that start. Kilker and Dillon as well, sitting up 7 in P14. So a lot of movement in both directions. And on the bad end of that, Bolly's down 13, Blasco down 9. And a lot of those cars that have taken repairs off the lead lap. And there goes Green again, shortening the track right there. And I really do kind of like that line, Green, the only taker so far. But there is another look at your points leader, Jason Green, and pretty comfortable in that P6. He's got about a 1.5 seconds behind. We're about halfway through this one. So I'm imagining that Green would not be disappointed to hang on to that P6. He's going to be probably pretty comfortable just minding his gap behind and securing the pole position for the second race.
Yeah, the best battle on the racetrack, I think, is probably Jason Cotcher, feeling a whole bunch of pressure from Enrique Vela, a couple of car lengths back from this battle that we watch now as Chris Eggert continues to try to hold Tyrone De Silva at bay. This is the battle for 4th and 5th through the banking at turn 14, up onto the front straightaway, and De Silva is certainly within striking distance, at least as far as the draft is concerned, only 3/10 of a straightaway back, but really, that's not a very long run as Eggert really deep into turn 1 there and washes wide, loses touch with the top 3 even more so than he did before. Now has a whole mirror of De Silva.
Yeah, Eggert kind of fighting that thing. We had the drone cam on him earlier, and that car didn't seem to want to turn in for him. We saw him miss a number of apexes in a row on the higher speed stuff, leaving a lot of space on the track that you really don't want to do. That sequence looking a little better for Eggert, but the handling of that car maybe not to Eggert's preferences, and we do have a fixed setup here. We're using the iRacing fixed setup from the official series, so these drivers are having to eat what has been fed to them by the iRacing admins, and it does not look like that setup is doing Eggert any favors out here tonight.
Yeah, the biggest thing you can work with is brake bias. So if you move the brake bias back a little bit, it'll make the rear end try to pull around and rotate just a little bit more. As we have some instant replays here, contact between the 777 and the 43. Oh, and insult adds to injury. The two of them end up drivers left. That was big contact. And the 4 joins them as well as one other car. That's essentially where all 5 of our meatball flags started from lap number 1.
Wow, rough stuff there, and a bit of a dive and a pit maneuver there, taking out a handful of cars. We'll take another look at it right there. And just that little smooch there was enough to start what I guess you could term the big one around here at Zandvoort. A couple cars going evasive, and yeah, there is your complete bowl of meatballs right there, and almost get another one as that green car backing into traffic in somewhat dubious fashion. But quick look back at Eggert, and Eggert has got De Silva all over him right now. That is about a 0.5 gap, but yeah, you're right, Tom. The field's spreading out here a little more than I thought. There's a lot of flat out running on this track, and the slipstream usually sucks these cars together. Not really seeing it in the heat.
Well, we've seen for so far this season from Sebring International Raceway and Suzuka International Racing Circuit, those with much longer straightaways. I think Zandvoort is a very low speed track as far as overall speeds and cornering speeds goes. We have so many hairpins, turns 1, 3, even 8, 9, 10, and then of course 12, where we just saw those cars sweep through at what I like to call the kitty litter or the litter box. Either way, there's just not a huge opportunity for a driver who is maybe a tenth or two slower in every single corner to bring the race back. But as I say that, Tyrone De Silva is certainly within touch of Eggert. This is the best battle on the racetrack for 4th. Eggert really deep into turn 1, relying on the banking, but unfortunately in a little bit too deep.
Yeah, and we're seeing Eggert wash out over and over again. We'll see how these two cars sort out this conflict around turn 3 here, and whoosh, there goes De Silva, dropping Eggert like he was pulling an anchor. So Eggert really fighting that car. It is washing out on every corner, not wanting to turn in for him. And you're right, Tom. Pro tip, kids, brake bias is your friend, especially when there's a fixed setup situation going on like we have here, and especially when you're trying to preserve those front tires so that you have crisp turn in down the stretch. You can help control those temps and help rotate the car by pushing that bias a little rearward. So if you don't have that mapped on your wheel, put it on there and learn how to use it. But anyway, soapbox off, taking a look at Jason Cotcher right now. Looks like Vela has pushed through Cotcher, and now Cotcher has a mirrorful of Danush Paborgi, and it does not look like that is going to last long, as Paborgi is going to try the inside here, heading into Tom's litter box, we're going to call it. Such a frustrating corner. Tom, I've got 2,000 laps on this track, and I have never once hit 11 and 12 correctly. It makes me insane.
You have to use the elevation to your advantage if everything else. Put Porgy a bit of a slide job into 11, but now into the draft down the front straightaway, out of the final corner. He's going to try to go the long way around. There's a big amount of banking at turn 1. He pinches the entry. The 23 playing this perfectly next to Captain Cotcher in the number 422. Cotcher now on the inside run through turns 1, now 2, and he shuts the door into turn 3, but Paborgi gets that ideal high line. Does he get the slingshot? No. A perfect amount of defense from Jason Cotcher. This is the battle for 9th. They're still side by side up the front straightaway, through turns 4, 5, and into 7.
That's some great stuff here. It's Cotcher versus Paborgi, and I'll tell you, Tom, I loved how Paborgi squeezed Cotcher against that pit wall coming down the pit straight to mess up his entry into turn 1, but he didn't finish that move. At the very end, you can pop out a little bit and open up your own entry, and Paborgi not doing that, and here's some more side-by-side action. There is turn 10. I told you it was going to be a trouble spot. Both of these drivers doing good, putting down the throttle, but we are still side-by-side. Cotcher is going to have the advantage here into the right-hander here, heading into Tom's litter box, and Paborgi gets a horrible line right there. Cotcher's going to hang on for now until he gets a bad drive out of the last section, and here we go into 13 and 14. What is going to happen now? Great stuff out here tonight.
Oh, these drivers really embracing the race. Coming to the white flag, Stephen Case has already taken it a handful of seconds ago. Whoa, into the dirt down the front straightaway. Cotcher really letting the back end hang out and into the braking zone for the final time for turn number 1. This battle for essentially ninth on the racetrack is a barn burner, but Case, Mikowitz, Lindlato, De Silva, Eggert continuing to hold down the top 5. Eggert is all over the back of De Silva, but this is still maybe the most compelling battle on the racetrack.
Yeah, let's see if Cotcher has anything left here, if he just wants to take a breath and go ahead and collect the points that are going to be coming to him for P10. And taking a look back now at Chris Eggert. Chris Eggert has not let De Silva get away here. That interval only about 0.3. He's going to have maybe another crack at him right up here. And I'll tell you, Tom, that entry to turn 13 can present a passing opportunity, but you got to be committed, and you got to be a little bit brave and get a great drive right here. And let's see how Eggert can do. And I'm going to say that De Silva is going to hang on to it. Meanwhile, Stephen Case has driven off 4-second lead over P2. That'll be Mikowitz, and Lindlato will come across in P3 as the rest of our competitors roll across. Here comes Green, Corwin, Vela, Poborgi, Jason Cotcher is going to round out the top 10, and Green did hang on to that P6, so he will have the pole in our next race here in just a second. But interesting stuff out here, Tom, and I got to say I'm a little bit surprised how the field spread out there as we watch. There's slow motion broadcasting colleague Kenan Miller there in that lucky 13 car, and he's going to cross in P12. And Kenan out there doing a little dicing, keeps it clean. So good drive out of him tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe, if anything, the attrition, and it wasn't any big crashes, right? It was just some small spins and some small clunks off of one car to another through the first, especially that winding first sector and a half, maybe, that we saw tonight in race number 1. This is, of course, the shorter sprint race. But then as we move on to the 25-minute feature race with the invert, I have to wonder if we're going to continue to see that. I mean, Stephen Case, we barely talked about him, but he literally drove off into the distance for Caleb Mikowitz, who also did the same to Max Lindlato. Huge gaps at the front of this field. Very abnormal, I would say, for this league. But either way, as I look towards the championship, I mean, Jason Green, who sat only in the 5th and 6th position, will need a little bit of a stronger finish for race number 2. He inverts nicely into race number 4 for this championship during, the 3rd feature race here at round number 3.
Yeah, and speaking of your championship points, there they are. Those are individual points right there. You see Green, Case, Lopez, Poborgi, De Silva, your top 5, followed by Corwin, newcomer Michelle Lynn, Max Lindlato, Jose Navas, Alex Velasco will get you to top 10. Let you go through the rest of those on your own. But great job for Jason Green. As I said, his fans and some of us here in the booth have kind of been waiting for Green to put a season together. He's got a lot of pace. He's got very good racecraft, and it's all coming together for Green so far through 2 races this season. Here are your team points. The green cars are Green and Josh Corwin. The MIOK connection is Poborgi and Lopez. Then the Dylan Case. I'm going to make you guess who is on that team. The IRVT reunion tour is Cotcher and Eggert, and the letters there that is Lindlato and Jose Navas. So just to add a little spice to Formula 3 racing, these 2-man teams are kind of randomly put together, or maybe not randomly. I'm going to get corrected on that by Cotcher, but they do change every season, and kind of adds a little extra spice to our proceedings out here. But we are currently about 1 minute and 40 seconds into a 5-minute warm-up. So if you need to hit the fridge, take that bio break and get ready for our 25-minute feature race, go ahead and do that now. And we should have a pretty good one out here. And, the field did spread out, Tom, but some of that I think might have been due to some of that early kerfuffleage, I'm going to call it, first couple laps. Yeah,
this track with the elevation that it has, and mostly just the on-camber corners, it's so difficult to rely on exactly what the car has to offer because, right, if you end up just a little bit off line, if you end up just a little bit high, a little bit low, the camber of the racetrack doesn't work the exact same. So, just recently I hosted a 2-hour endurance race here, and we saw so many small mistakes compound into really large consequences. And I think with a short race, as we move into our 25-minute feature, that is a really big deal coming into and trying to plan for what this race will have to offer. I think either way, Stephen Case showed an immense amount of pace. He really controlled that race from the front. He will start from the 6th position, but I was only here for Sebring. If that was any tell, he will be battling for the lead within the first half to 3/4 of the first lap.
Yeah, too right. And he doesn't have any slouches in front of him. Mike Givets very fast. Lynn Lotto fast as well. So those first couple are definitely going to be not pushovers for Case. But yeah, he's going to have 25 minutes to get his work done. And historically, he does do that. But speaking of Sim Racers Group, just a quick shout out to them. And if you're not familiar with the program, Sim Racers Group is actually a brick and mortar facility east side of San Jose, California. You see the picture there on your screen. 12 high quality sim rigs, and real easy to get to as well. It's right off the 101, just south of the 680 interchange. I believe it's the Tully Road exit there, first one after 680. But you can roll in there anytime and see what it's like to pilot any car that you want in a high quality sim rig. Get some tips from a very friendly and welcoming group there at Sim Racers Group. So a lot of these people that you see on screen tonight are in that room together right now. Many of them, of course, as is normally the case in iRacing, spread across the U.S. at a minimum, couple people from overseas as well. But Sim Racers Group, founded by Jason Cotcher, great to see the success there. Great to see the community that he has built. And we here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, very pleased indeed to be a part of that.
Yeah, I was actually working an event out at Sonoma Raceway this weekend and kept Googling what and where the Sim Racers Group facility was relative to where I was. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to stop by, but I certainly did try. And I absolutely love seeing a group of drivers who get together in real life and kind of hang out together, spend some time together. And then, through the technology that we have now, you can just join from wherever you are in the world. But it brings me back to those sim cafes, the gaming lounges that we maybe had back in the 2005 to 2012 range, right, where you could just go and hang out together and LAN parties and whatever else, no matter what kind of racing or otherwise game you preferred to play. It was just so much fun.
LAN party. Yeah, I was wondering if you're going to show your age by mentioning that particular phrase, but I remember that well. And shout out to all my brothers and sisters out there that played Doom at LAN parties back in the day. But anyway, here's your starting grid for our feature race. It's green up front by virtue of that P6 in the heat. He's going to line up next to Chris Eggert in row 1. Then it's Tyrone De Silva next to Max Lynn-Lotto in 3 and 4. Kalen Mikovits will line up next to Stephen Case in 5 and 6. Then it's Josh Corwin next to Enrique Vela. Danush Poborji next to Jason Koch relegated to top 10. Then it's Jason Trantham next to Kenan Miller in P12. Then we're going to have Rafael Cardenas next to Adam Duvall. Colquhoun Dillon will line up next to Alex Velasco. Michelle Lynn will line up next to Thomas Brashear. Jose Navas next to Varun Bali. Then it's Diego Posada next to Ken Glasser. And Jacob Guyton there in P23, although I'm not sure, did we see him in the, Guyton was out there. But in any event, there is your starting grid. We're going to buckle in here for a 25-minute race. Lights are on, and here we go. And folks, you got to take care of your tires. 25 minutes will start right now. It's green from Eggert, from De Silva. Mikovits is pushing around the outside right now of Max Lynn-Lotto. Mikovits trying to make the best of his start right now. Those two will go side by side through turn 1. Here we go into turn 2 and 3. We're going to go through here for the first time and cross our fingers that this encounter with the first lap is a little cleaner than last time, and Mikovits does get that move done on Lynn-Lotto. That will put him up into P4.
Well, a beautiful start for all of these drivers, but it's still side by side, I think, for Lynn-Lotto. And is that Joshua Corwin in the background as they hunt now for turn number 7. And you mentioned tire wear. The other thing about that is these drivers are driving on cold tires for the first time in a handful of laps. They have to absolutely take things a little bit carefully, especially through the first lap or so. As Jason Green continues to lead this race, the cars shuffling through this essentially wide set of racetrack. These two corners, turns 9 and 10. It's still side by side for Baborgi and Corwin for about 7th.
Yeah, and that is Corwin. Looks like he's going to get through there. Is that a gain or not? Looks like Baborgi has moved up one, and Corwin hanging steady right there. And there you see his photo there. Corwin, a good boy so far tonight, running in P7. And Case so far, no movement. And, we've covered Case in F4 and F3. We've talked about his racecraft, and part of racecraft in these F3 cars is patience. And it may be that Case, as long as he can still see green up ahead, is going to be satisfied just hanging with this pack, letting his tires warm up gradually so that they're there for him down the stretch. And sometimes he pounces early, sometimes he kind of bides his time, and you see him biding his time now. And you see, I'm telling you, man, that is the right line through there that Green is doing. I'm kind of waiting to see if people are going to start following him through there. It takes a substantial distance off of the length of that back straightaway, and Green putting it to work for him right now. He's got about a 0.4 gap behind to Eggert. So it's Green from Eggert, from De Silva, Mikovits, Linlato, and Stephen Case. Only in that top 6, only Mikovits and Linlato have swapped places. Paborgi and Corwin, something has happened with them. They have both dropped way down. A couple of hard chargers. Brashear again charging up 7. And we'll see if we can find that incident with Paborgi and Corwin for you. I completely missed that, but they plummeted like a couple of anvils into the sea right there.
There's a bit of a look back at it. This is Paborgi in the black and orange. And contact between himself and Corwin. Corwin was on the preferred driving line, but as the momentum carries you, it put him right into the rear right of Paborgi, and both drivers end up on the edge of the racetrack. The rest of the field just streaming between the two of them. Here's a ride on board Corwin, and he's just trying to do the normal driving line, and unfortunately, all of a sudden, one of his competitors ends up in his way. And that's just one of these high-speed, on-camber sections of racetrack. You have to trust the drivers around you. He's doing a really nice job to rejoin the race without interrupting anybody else, but unfortunately, it puts him all the way back to 20th.
Yeah, and right after I called Corwin a good boy, a little piddle on the rug there as he washes out and takes out Paborgi. So easy to do right there. That is a tough corner to keep it on the track when you're alone, much less trying to do it side by side. And here is Linlato, and that's a little wheel banging. Was that Case that he came together with right there? And that is going to turn Linlato, put him into the barrier, and that is going to be a tow. And that is Stephen Case in that 243 car. Elbows out, a little hip check, and bang, it is over for Linlato. And man, oh man, we talked about it. He has got pace, but sometimes rolls the dice, and sometimes comes up snake eyes. You saw right there. And I'm sure the stewards are going to be taking a look at that. Fortunately, way above my pay grade, so I got nothing to say about it. Could be a racing incident, but anyway, the result is Case has up 1 now and is looking at about an 8/10 gap ahead to his next target, Tyrone De Silva.
Yeah, that section of racetrack just so difficult because of the way the terrain plays with the race car. You don't mean to leave room or not leave room for your fellow competitor, but then all of a sudden you find yourself intercepting their normal racing line. We join the battle for 3rd and 4th. This is Caleb Mikowitz just leading Tyrone De Silva. These two having a great battle between the two of them through the sector previous in the former lap and then this lap now, but Mikowitz driving out just a little bit and then looking back just a little bit further. This is Jose Navas in a huge scrum.
Oh my goodness, just a little smooch there. That is Navas rubbing up against the back of Michelle Lynn there in that battle for 12, 13, and 14. It's Lynn from Navas from Jason Trantham, and things getting a little bit spicy right there. And as we look at at novice, being followed by Trantham. A quick tip of the hat to Mikovits, who has picked up 2 positions. We saw him getting a pretty good start. He was aggressive off the start, and that has paid off for him so far. He's worked his way up 2 positions into a podium position, and if he can hang on, it'll be Mikovits' first podium of the season after having a couple results not real consistent with his overall P3 finish last season. So Mikovits' fans got to be pleased so far. Early at 19 minutes to go, but Mikovits taking advantage of the opportunities in front of him and rewarded with a P3. Another look now at Jason Green, managing that gap behind to Eggert pretty well, and in fact the 2 of them have dropped Mikovits to the tune of about 1.5 seconds. So 2-man train forming there as you see Green 4 wheels off the ground on that JR preferred line through turn 4, but so far so good.
I love that JR preferred line as they work sector 2. Now Jason Green, your championship leader as well. They're coming up on a bit of lap traffic, but he's got a whole bunch of pressure from Chris Eggert, as you see in the upper left-hand corner. Any of those gaps in the orange color means less than 0.5 seconds away. Look how many battles in the top 7 or 8 we have in those circumstances. But Jason Green, a little bit of a gap, 2-3 car lengths at best into turns number 11 and 12. They round this section of the racetrack, approaching just about 1/3 of the race done. And if anything, Jason Green probably happy to see the race car just up the road. I think that's Max Lotto maybe giving him a bit of a draft. Eggert trying to tuck it in as well, cutting distance, and then up the front straightaway just flat out into this tricky braking zone. You want to brake so late, but the straightaway is so short as well. You want to stay on throttle as they tuck it into the apex for that rounded turn number 1, the big carousel there with all of that elevation and camber. Then through turns 1 and 2. Again here, if you end up 1 tire width too low, 1 tire width too high, you lose a 1/10 or 2, but it looks like so far in this lap at least, Eggert has a bit of an advantage.
Yeah, Eggert looking pretty good right here. We talked about Case's racecraft, and Eggert showing much the same. You could see him breathing the throttle coming down that pit straight. He potentially had a crack at making some kind of move on green into turn 1. Elected not to do that, and breathe the throttle, save his tires. He has an almost 2-second gap behind, and he has green approaching traffic ahead. Now that is I think you said that was Max Lotto, so no slouch up there, Lotto. He's not going to hold up green much, if at all, but Eggert really using his head here and taking his time, picking his battles, and hoping maybe that back marker can give him a little bit of an assist here.
Critical moments for Stephen Case. We join that 2-4-3 right on the back bumper of Tyrone Da Silva. He goes high up the outside of turn 14. That's going to allow Case through very easily, but was that strategic? Does Da Silva now come back into turn 1? He pops to the outside, and I think that outside line works really well here as there's so much camber in turn 1, maybe a bit of an over-under. No, Case goes through into 4th.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, these drivers all very familiar with one another. Da Silva certainly familiar with Case, who has quite the reputation in this group, multiple champion, and I think maybe just a little bit of nerves there as Da Silva getting pressure from Case from behind. You see him wash out a little bit there, turn 13, and turn that into an easy move for Case, and that is going to be put Case up into P4 with about 15 minutes remaining. Case slowly marching his way through the field. Now we're back to Green and Eggert, and Eggert doing a great job keeping up with Jason Green right here. You see him closing that gap down into turn 10, hard braking zone, very easy on the throttle to run down to Tom's litter box right here, and we'll see how they navigate this little part. So tough. You kind of have to drive on the curbing on the inside, but there's not a lot of grip down there, so you're kind of on the ragged edge right here. Very critical too. Easy to over slow right here. And pro tip right here, kids, I want to see what Eggert does. A lot of people just impulsively let the car go all the way to the outside of the track right there. But that is uphill and lengthens the track and not really necessary in one of these F3 cars. So best to hug the inside there coming out of turn 14. But Eggert washing out a little bit there. Gosh, that is the story of Eggert's night. That car not turning in for him as that gap suddenly grows from about 0.3 to 0.6.
Well, you're spot on with the carrying speed versus cutting distance conversation between these race cars. And I think, if anything, Chris Eggert's struggling a bit with that, including the aero wash coming off the back of Jason Green's car. Every time he gets close, it seems like he really struggles to fall exactly in the tire tracks. And luckily, this racetrack has a couple corners where things get fairly wide. This is one of them, turns 9 and then turn 10. Luckily for both of these drivers as well, Max Lotto, who is the blue race car just up the road, is one of the fastest race cars on the track. So even though he sits down in the 20th position, he will likely not become a part of this conversation, if at all, as we approach halfway through this race. Eggert continues to try to add pressure on the back of Jason Green, but Green has just been unflappable this entire race. Caleb Miekowitz in the 3rd position is just about 10 car lengths back. And don't forget about Stephen Case, who's basically the fastest race car on the track. He was your sprint race winner in this black and blue car up onto the front straightaway. Look, everybody is just so aware of the draft. They're so aware of how the other cars around them can affect them.
Ooh, and that time around, as we came onto the pit straight right there, Miekowitz had the fast lap. When Eggert crossed the line, he snatched that away from Miekowitz. Miekowitz got it back when he crossed the line. And now Stephen Case has the fast lap of 126.3, and that is 4/10 faster than your current P1 runner, Jason Green. So Case, as usual, has the pace. We're only about halfway through this one, but Case also has some work cut out for him. Miekowitz, Eggert, and Green all stand between him and the top step of the podium, and that are them be 4 very talented drivers in these F3 cars. And what I heard a groan there. Did I miss something?
Yeah, just Eggert, watching him, how trustworthy he is of the radius these cars can carry, just opening up the entry, opening up the exit, and gaining a mile an hour or two. And the big battle between distance and speed, as we've talked about it, continues on. A bit of a battle between these cars a bit further back in the field. Some damage to Varun Bali, I think.
Yeah, Bali missing his nose there, and he is going to need to stop. They've instituted special penalties for folks who drive with damage and cause incidents. So the strong preference is to take a tow. These cars are terrible, missing the nose or the rear wing, but Bali choosing to limp it around. And unfortunate for him, even as he sits right now, you just saw him get swamped by a number of cars. Bali up 8 positions, and here it is, 3 wide into turn 1 right here, and that is Miekowitz staying out of it. And so, or is it? Who is in the 13 car right there? Oh, that was Kenan Miller choosing to stay out of that one. But watching Bali here, and we're going to wait and see what happened to his nose, I believe. I mean, it looks good right now. As we run through that glorious hilly twisty section. And Mike assures me that something is going to happen here any second. Mike Braun, our replay specialist right here. And doink, there it is. And just the slightest little kiss there, and that nose skitters off to the edge of the track and into the seat. So if you happen to be sitting right there, you can take home that F3 Dallara F3 nose cone. And there's another look at Kenan Miller. Kenan getting his work done out here, and another meatball just flashed up. Michelle Lynn has had some kind of an incident as things getting messy out here. And Tom, it just could be the tire witching hour are starting to come into effect here. This track pretty hard on all 4 corners, I would say.
Yeah, and the car just starts to lose that precision right as we get into the later stages of this race. Back at the front, Chris Eggert has a huge amount of pressure on Jason Green in that number 160. Continues to lead this race, and the black and green car at the front of the field continues to absolutely pound the inside curb at turn number 6 as well. And somehow Eggert really seems to be struggling at turn number 7. If he can get that corner under control, I think he might be able to mount an attack on Jason Green. Kalen Mikowitz and Stephen Case also in the conversation for the top 4. They're all within a second of one another, but they're a little bit further back. And something we haven't talked about too much in this race is just how the aero wash can affect the car behind, especially in some of the faster corners. You have the dirty air pouring off the back of one of these race cars, and being within a half second or so, it becomes really difficult. So far, Eggert, he's willing to sort of chip away at that half second mark or so, but he can't stay there for very long. Look at this, through some of the faster sections of the racetrack, he just drops back a bit.
Yeah, and things getting spicy up here. About 10 minutes remaining, and there's your top 4. It's Green from Eggert, from Mikowitz, from Case, all separated by about a second and a half. And here we're going to take a look at, there we go. Oh, my goodness. What could possibly go wrong? And you called it, and I had been calling it turn 4. That is turn 6 there, where I like to cut massive bites out of the track in a GT3 car, and there's where you see how it goes wrong. Corwin is looking like he sees the newspaper coming now in that shot, and a second incident for Corwin in as many races. Here is a replay of Dylan, little over rotation, the tire witching hour fully in effect with about 8 minutes and change remaining. So this is where we're going to see, Tom, the folks who have not taken care of that rubber, they're going to get exposed here down the stretch.
Yeah, that witching hour you talk about just means that the grip the tire has, that extra bit of compound grabbing at the racetrack, is starting to lose a little bit. And if you're prepared for it, you can still go just as fast, but the tire is not saving you nearly as much as the top 4 continue to duke this thing out. Green, Eggert, Mikowitz, and Case. And I think Case is probably the fastest car on the racetrack here. We look back just a lap ago. De Silva with a bit of an issue coming off of turn number 12. Oh, hard into the barriers in front of Lynn Lotto.
Yeah, a little over rotation there out of 12, and that's another spot. This track is just kind of built out of these corners where you have to be patient on the throttle, especially without TC, and as your tires are starting to fade here down the stretch. And taking a look now at Case versus Mikowitz, that gap down to about 0.6, and Case making a little error there, uncharacteristic of Case, maybe overcooking that entry a little bit. You see him washing out the car, not getting the turn in that Case was expecting that time, and these tires really starting to show the heat cycling and the torture that they're being asked to undergo here at Zandvoort.
So difficult there in turn 3. You have to deal with the banking and the dirty racetrack underneath the race car. He just ends up a little bit too high, and I was worried he would end up in the wall, but kept it out. Jason Green continuing to hold off. Chris Eggert coming down into turns 11 and 12. The litter box, as I like to call it, just avoiding the curb. And honestly, this section of racetrack remains fairly clean. I'm pretty impressed with the entire league here. Mikowitz, a bit of a slip in the background. Case, potentially an opportunity here, but it looks like we're in a bit of a lockstep with both aero wash and draft. These cars not presenting a huge opportunity. Here comes Case.
Yeah, Case getting a good drive out of the Lion Dyke corner right there. Kalen's going to try to cover the inside, but we've seen time and time again, you can get a pretty good run taking the long way around to turn 1, and Mikowitz just kind of gives up on that one. Knew that Case had the speed and knew that Case could make something happen going the long way around, and Case does. That'll put Case up on the podium position. And folks, while we focus on these top 3 cars now, it's Green from Eggert, from Case, from Mikowitz. Shout out to Alex Velasco, although he's about 15 seconds in arrears of Mikowitz right now in P5. That P5 represents a movement of plus 11 for Velasco. So Velasco getting his work done out here, and has a death grip on the hard charger award if he can maintain this position. So great drive being put in by Velasco. Surely some of those positions were because of incidents from other drivers, but surely some of them were legit moves out on track. So cheers to Alex Velasco, and we'll jump back up to Green and Eggert. And yeah, you're right, Tom, that interval, it's not dropping in huge bites, but Eggert is getting some small bites out of that gap. They'll come onto the front straight this time with about 3/10, and that is plenty close enough to make the draft go to work for you here on this long pit straight. We'll ride along with Eggert coming out of the lane Dyke corner. You see both drivers avoid the temptation to go way wide there on that exit. And Eggert is going to kind of breathe it, decides not to do anything with it this time. He would have stuck behind green and taken more of that slipstream, but elected not to do it this time. But must be pretty happy with that gap. Got it down to about 0.2. And yeah, again, Tom, as you pointed out, he's just taken little nibbles here and there, but pretty soon he's going to have to make a decision and take a bite. Only 4 minutes remaining.
Absolutely true, and a huge difference in line choice as we've seen every single lap since the beginning of the sprint race. But no matter what, we've seen that down the front straightaway, it's not possible to draft by and win the race at the very last second. So no matter what, I think Chris Eggert has to consider that as we come into the final few laps of this race, he's going to need to make the move prior to that very final lap, no matter what it looks like, as he's able to build into and take a huge bite out of the lead for Jason Green through those final 2 corners. And either way, he's going to probably end up having to run offense and defense as Stephen Case now closes in within about 6.5 tenths of a second, pulling away from Minkowitz. Here we go on to the front straightaway for what will likely be roughly thinking maybe the third to final time. Oh, and it's a very close distance between these 3 cars.
Yeah, and Eggert's not really in an enviable position right now. He's got to make his strategic decisions, calculate his moves on green ahead, and he also has Case behind, slowly reeling him in a bite at a time, although Case not reeling that gap in super quickly here. It's been hovering 0.6, 0.7, and Case unable to make a lot happen right there. It seemed like Eggert probably benefiting from the tow he's getting from green much more than Case is benefiting from his tow off of Eggert. But yeah, that gap hovering around 0.6, 0.7. Case may have made the decision to settle in here and take his P3 or just enjoy the popcorn seat when the eventual move happens between Eggert and Green. He'll be there to pick up the pieces.
Ooh, really big slide through turn number 10. I have to wonder if maybe Stephen Case's car is a bit loose coming into the final stages of this race. Jason Green continues to control the field about 4/10 to the good as they rotate through turn number 12. Bit of a slip this time as Chris Eggert as close as could be through turns 13 and into turn 14. This is deeply within the drafting range of these Formula 3 cars. They cut the distance through the banking at turn number 14. Coming up onto the front straightaway, this will not be the white flag, but it will be close.
Wow, Barney, a little stingy with that white flag with 140 remaining. They just missed that one by about 15 seconds, I'm going to say. So 2 more laps here. And Jason Green trying to win his second in a row will be after winning in Suzuka, and his 3rd podium in a row, P2 at Sebring, P1 at Suzuka. So Green is putting a season together here early, and I know that his fans are on the edge of their seat watching that clock wind down. About a minute and 15 seconds remaining, 2 laps to go, and Green has Eggert and Case both within about 0.7. Mikovits has fallen off about 2.5 seconds behind Case, and Velasco about a quarter of a lap down. So here is the action right here. 0.7 of a second is all that separates the top 3 drivers. You are watching Formula 3 action from Sim Racers Group on slow motion broadcasting, and we're going to see the white flag this time around.
What an incredible run. Jason Green is so strong in turns 3 and turn 7, both banked corners, and he just gains those couple of advantages. Oh, a bit of a slip for Eggert. Is this going to be a churn for the top 3? Stephen Case is right there, but in fact finds himself maybe a bit out of lockstep. He will certainly have a huge amount of draft, but what does this mean for Jason Green? Does Green get an advantage as the top 2, or excuse me, for 2nd and 3rd side by side into turn 1? Oh, a huge flat slide.
A huge wiggle, man. These tires have had enough. You saw that huge wiggle from Eggert that let Case back into it. It looked like Eggert was going to be a sitting duck down the front straightaway, and then Case returned the favor, almost washing all the way out of turn one. These tires are beat. They're tired. They're whooped. It is over for them, and they cannot wait to see that white flag. And I'll tell you what, Jason Green is loving what he's seeing in his relative right now. He has a 0.6 gap back to Eggert. He is looking very good here if he can hang on for another lap and a half to collect his second consecutive win and tighten his grip on P1 on the season. Greens fans on the edge of their seat. You know, I've said it before. We've been watching Green for some time now. Very high I rating on this driver. He has great pace, good racecraft. We've just been kind of waiting for him to put a season together. It looks like it's happening right now as we work our way through Tom's litter box for this second to the last time. We've got to see the white this time around, but still the gap's very, very tight. It is 0.4 from Green back to 0.3 from Green back to Eggert, 0.3 between Eggert and Case. See what the draft is going to offer up this time. Keep an eye on the relative here, or that's the checker. So we did not get the weight, or I didn't see it. Something happened there. But Jason Green has done it. It is Green from Eggert from Case. And Green will win his second in a row, solidify his hold on the top step of the season championship. And there's Alex Velasco coming across in P5. And you know, Tom, that he is delighted having made up 11 positions during this one.
Oh, it's such a good battle between those top couple of cars, especially with the way the draft and the way this racetrack plays out. I think Jason Green couldn't have played it any better. A bit of a battle in the background between the four of Jose Navas, Diego Posada just barely missing out on a top 11, and quite a bit of attrition actually as I scan down for the second half of the field. Jason Trantham now up onto the front straightaway, was in the conversation for the first half of this race, will come home in the 16th position. Then Corwin, another driver that we saw in the wars between himself and then the 44 of Michelle Lynn. No, excuse me, the 44 was Diego Posada. That car was upside down, I think, at one point in this race.
The upside down Posada coming soon to a fusion restaurant near you. But madness out here today. These drivers normally race pretty clean, Tom, but we talked about it during the opening. There are so many places here at Zandvoort where the track is wide, the door looks open and inviting, but so easy to wash out and take people out when it looks like you've got something to work with, and it just ends in disaster. We saw that over and over again. Never seen more meatballs, more toes, and more terminal damage in one of these F3 races. So Zandvoort, very, very tough on these drivers, and the carnage continues there. A little wheel banging as we're trying to get these cars off the line for our donut display. But yeah, it's Green from Eggert from Case as they pose for their podium shot there at start and finish. And what a fantastic race. We're going to have those results up for you in just a second. We'll take a peek outside as well, see if there's anybody waiting to talk to us. And actually, Tom, why don't you run with those results, and I'll check the green room for drivers.
Yeah, for the win in round 3 for the Sim Racers group in Formula 3, Jason Green yet again extends his championship lead and takes the win tonight at Zandvoort by 0.4 of a second over the 222 Chris Eggert for IVRT, the reunion tour vehicle there. Then it's the Stephen Case in the 243. He took the win in the sprint race, but comes home third in the feature. Then Kalen Mikowitz in the 76 over Alex Velasco, the 777, coming home in the 5th position. Jason Cotcher, the captain, in the 422, also for the IVRT reunion tour, comes home about 30 seconds back over Enrique Vela in the number 35. Adam Duvall rounding out the top 8. Then Danush Paborji, we saw that car having a great couple of battles in the early stages, and Kenan Miller, one of our friends here from Slow Motion Broadcasting, will bring home the top 10 in the number 13.
All right, that will get you to Jose Navas in P11. Diego Posada will come across in P12. Then is Dylan in P13. Tyrone De Silva will come across in P14. Michelle Lynn, newcomer, had a little issue, doesn't finish on the lead lap. Neither is Dylan De Silva for that matter. Then it's Trantham. Josh Corwin, Max Linlotto after numerous problems, a lap down in P19. Then it's Varun Bali, 9 laps down in P19, and then Brashear Cardenas, Glasser, and Guyton in various stages of disassembly during that one, in a very rough and tumble race here at Zandvoort. But I'm going to go ahead and bring in tonight's winner, Jason Green. Jason, welcome to the booth. Thanks for stopping by to share your thoughts with us, and hopefully more than one thought. And this is your second win in a row, 3 out of 3 podiums so far this season. And so what's going on with you this season? I've kind of had my eye on you, waiting for you to put a season together. It looks like it's happening right now. So are these races just coming to you? You putting in more time? What are you doing to find success this season in Formula 3?
Yeah, definitely putting in a lot more season or a lot more time than last season. Didn't really do much prep beforehand last season. So I thought I'd give it a little more time this season, and then I've been helping Michelle out as well, get to grips with the F3 car. So that's naturally giving me a little more time as well to try to be a little more consistent. But yeah, the sprint race, I wasn't too optimistic after the sprint race, where I couldn't really do anything in the dirty air. But luckily, I was able to put that to my advantage in the feature race.
Yeah, too right. So it sounds like leaning into preparation a little bit more this season, and definitely paying off. You've solidified your grip on P1, and as I said, the only driver to appear on all 3 podiums so far this season. So putting together a great one so far, and a pretty interesting schedule. And let me just ask you this: there are some there's a lot of concrete walls in the future of this grid. We've got St. Pete, Miami, Montreal, Adelaide, and Long Beach down the stretch, which could turn very messy. A lot of very challenging, high commitment, high risk tracks there. So, what do you think about how the schedule turned out this time?
I am so hyped for St. Pete. That track is so much fun to drive. Same with Adelaide. Also a blast, especially the first chicane in the F3 car is wild. It's like barely a lift. Yeah, it's crazy. So definitely looking forward to both of those tracks. The others I'm horrible at, so we'll see how that goes.
All right. Well, we've got some drops to play with, so as long as you keep that prep in and perform at those tough street courses the way you're hoping to, I think you should be in pretty decent shape. So, Jason, thank you so much for stopping by and chatting with us. Congratulations again on that P1. And as we wrap up, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to today?
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. Shout out to Michelle for getting to grips with the F3 car. It's a little faster than the normal car of Formula V, and she's killing it so far. So shout out to her.
All right, very good. Well, thanks so much, Jason, and we will look forward to seeing you next week. Where did I say? It was just right in front of me. Oh, Road America. Yeah. Okay. So that'll be a good one, and we'll chat with Stephen and Enrique about that. But thanks for coming by.
Thanks, JR.
All right. Cheers. All right. That was Jason Green, and Tom, I got Stephen Case here for you.
Yeah, Stephen, really interesting to talk to you here. And I think the pattern for this season maybe is that you're the fastest race car on the track, but when it comes to the top 6 invert for those feature races, things become more challenging for you. So talk a little bit about that as we watch you have a pretty successful night, a podium in both races, of course, the win in the sprint. But what is that like behind the wheel of the car?
Sorry, I think we got cut off a little bit. I wasn't sure if you were talking to me or not.
Yeah, we are.
I didn't hear the beginning.
Our favorite.
I didn't hear the beginning.
All good. So the question really is as we work our way into the second second quarter of this, or second third of this season, really, that it seems as if you have the pace to kind of be the top car when it comes to qualifying and into the sprint race. But then when we come to that top six invert, things become pretty challenging. So what's your perspective on dealing with that, as pretty much you've been the class of the field when it comes to the qualifying session early on, but it's not always the case when we invert things?
I mean, I'm glad we have inverted it. It makes it interesting. It's obviously challenging to miss the chaos when stuff happens. And I think last week I was part of the chaos, so I just gotta do my best not to run into the back of people. But this week I think it was pretty good. I'm not sure if I was the cause of Max's spin or not. I didn't. I thought I left room. I'm not sure. I hope I wasn't the cause of that. But I am happy we have the inverted grid now. It makes it a bunch of fun. I mean, that was a blast chasing these guys down just now. I couldn't do any more than that. They were flawless up in the front, and I just couldn't make a move. But it was fun.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's pretty clear as we watch the racing early on. You tend to qualify towards the front, but when we invert things, it's just so difficult. Talk about what it's like to be, maybe the fastest car as timing and scoring might be concerned in the earlier sessions, but then when you get to the invert race, you're starting on row 3, and all of a sudden you have to deal with some other cars. You mentioned the aero wash and some other things. What is that like exactly behind the wheel?
On this track, the aero wash is definitely a big deal. Like it's pretty massive. I would say it's probably a few tenths loss, because I'm just not gaining the ground that I would expect in free air, especially coming around these flat corners. The front end just does not stick, so it's a challenge, and you just gotta back off a little bit and try to save your tires for when you have an opportunity, and try to get the best start. I mean, definitely the first lap is the biggest opportunity to make passes when people are a little more cautious. I'm pretty confident on cold tires, so that's when I try to make moves when I can without causing wrecks. But if someone leaves a gap open, I'm going to go for it.
Right, a catch-22 for sure. Stephen Case continues to be one of our top drivers for the season, and indeed inherits one of the biggest challenges on all of these invert races. Stephen, thanks for talking to us tonight, and good luck for the rest of the season. We're also going to talk to Enrique Vela, hanging out with us here on the stream, and JR, we talked to Enrique here.
Enrique, welcome to the booth. I don't think I've had a chance to chat with you yet. So as a newcomer here to the F3 series, how are you finding the competition? How do you like the car? And how do you like Sim Racers Group?
Oh, nice. Well, yeah, well, thanks for welcoming me. It's awesome, actually. I mean, I've been racing F3, I think almost exclusively outside of Sim Racers Group for about maybe a year, trying to kind of bring up my I-rating up in Formula, so I actually really enjoy the car. But yeah, no, it's a fun group of people. Everybody races pretty clean. So yeah, it makes it all pretty enjoyable. So it was a good time.
Yeah, it looked like you guys are having some fun out there. And talk to us a little bit about the tire situation out there. Even the drivers at the front, when we were watching them closely, looked like everybody was kind of having struggles getting the car to turn in. We saw a number of incidents caused from people washing out on the inside of corners. So how did the car feel out there? And did you feel somewhat limited by the fixed setup that you were provided for this race?
No, I think the fixed setup was fine. I mean, in general, even when I'm not racing here in this league, I'd like to either play with a fixed setup and just lower the fuel, and that tends to be pretty good. So it is something that I'm used to. But as far as tires go, yeah, I mean, Zandvoort is not necessarily kind on the rear tires, as we all know. So
Yeah.
it's really a matter of trying to kind of bring them in gently. I mean, the first couple laps, it was a little bit dodgy, right, with everybody kind of clustered together and the tires still a little bit cold. So that's all where all the major incidents seem to be happening. Then the rhythm was good, and then yeah, that last, I would say, oh my gosh, the last 5 to 6 laps when I was kind of sitting in a little bit of a no man's land, yeah, I could feel it. I could feel it pretty loose in the rear. So at that point, it was more about just being gentle through it. I mean, I had a good enough gap behind, and I hit a huge gap in front, so it wasn't really going anywhere. So yeah, just kind of kept it clean and didn't push it too hard because I knew it was not going to have it. I mean, I did lose it once, right? And turn 10, I believe is what it is. So yeah.
All right, and looking ahead, I've got some pretty interesting tracks on the schedule ahead, but let's talk about next week, heading to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and Road America. What are your thoughts about getting out there and letting these cars off their leash a little bit, getting a little top end going?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's Draft City, USA, right? It's yeah, it's pretty good. I like Road America. I actually do enjoy that track quite a lot. But it is all about that draft and those long straights, and then really finding that break point at the very end. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I can make it. You guys don't see me here very often. I'm on the East Coast, so this tends to be pretty late for me to be doing it on a school night. I do have two little kids. It just so happens that they do not have school tomorrow, so I was able to join in today. So we'll see. I'll try to make it in, but hopefully, right? But no promises, as people know. I usually join them on the weekends for endurance races and things like that, and that's my contribution. That and deliveries for everybody. So.
All right. Well, very good. Enrique, thank you so much for stopping by and chatting with us, sharing your thoughts, and we hope that your schedule allows you to participate more. It's great to see you out there.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Cheers. Thank you.
All right.
All right, that was Enrique Vela who brought it across the line in P8, having picked up one from his qualifying position. And Enrique, a newcomer to Sim Racers Group, but obviously a lot of seat time in this car and enthusiastic about being here with us. So that is great to hear. So what I want you to do right now, wherever you're watching Slow Motion Broadcasting, go ahead and subscribe to SMB and hit that notification icon so that you don't miss any of the upcoming action. And just to preview, this Saturday, Weekend Warrior Formula Vs will go down under to the Bend. And on Sunday, our Weekend Warriors double feature is back with Formula Fords at Snetterton, Spec Racer Fords at Okayama. Next Tuesday, the American Muscle Series will bang doors at Silverstone, and Sim Racers Group Formula 4 will head to Winton. And 1 week from tonight, as I said, more Formula 3 action at Road America. So that is going to wrap it up for tonight, folks. I am J.R. Gregory on behalf of myself, Tom O'Gorman, Mike Braun, and everyone here at SMB. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and hang in there, baby. Friday's coming.